Namaste. Welcome once again to the course Intermediate Level of Spoken Sanskrit. Swagatam punarapi asmin varge yatra vayam sanskritasya agre adhyayanam kurma. In our previous class, we had looked at writing of the alphabet in the Devanāgarī script. In this one, we are going to look at how we are going to combine different letters together. This particular lecture is going to be an introduction to the Devanāgarī script combining consonants, and the content will be on revising the Varnamala or alphabet in the Devanāgarī script, combining consonants with consonants. In the previous class, we had looked at the combination of consonants with vowels, where the vowels independently have particular symbols, but when they combine with consonants, they acquire different symbols that we will also revise today. And then we will do I will introduce you to Sanskrit Nyayas, which are also the maxims in Sanskrit, and then we will look at another special creation in the Sanskrit language. So, a quick recap of the sound structure of Sanskrit. We had the 5 places of pronunciations, the gutturals or kanthya, palatals talavya, cerebrals murdhanya, dentals dantya, and then the oshtya or the labials there. And so, we had the different vowels that were associated with them, and we learned how to write them. So, we had the a, I, u, U, R, R, L, L, A, I, O, Au, Aha. Sincerely hope that you have been practicing the letters in the meanwhile and that you have a little more familiarity with these letters as you see them now. Moving on to the consonants, so this is the area that we are going to be focusing on today. So, please pay attention to the forms of the letters so that you can play around with them more freely. Astu. So, K, K, G, Gh, Ng, gutturals. Next, palatals. Ch, Ch, J, Jh, Nya. Next, T, Th, D, Dh, N. That's the tomato series. Next, T, Th, D, Dh, N. That's like the tap a bit series. It's a combination. And then the P, P, B, B, M, the labials. And what is important to remember in this is that these letters follow the order in which sound comes out of the human vocal system, which is actually remarkable if you think of how letters have been organized in such a systematic manner. The next ones that we have are the semi-vowels or the antasthaha. So, we had Y, R, L, V. Then the ushmanaha, the sibilant sounds. Sh, palatal, Sh, the cerebral or murdhanya, and S, the dental or dantya, and H, okay, the one from the chest. And then we had 3 conjunct consonants that we had already encountered, which were Ksha. Now, the Ksha is a combination, I will do that for you, of K and Sh. Okay. This halant is what gives you the net consonant sound. So, K plus Sh already gave you the Ksha, but you see that there is no resemblance of either of the letters in this combination, and that's why these 3 letters are generally included into the alphabet system itself. The next one you have is Tra, which is a combination of T plus R, so Tra, and then we have the Jnya, which has a little resemblance, but still it's not easy to figure out. So, you have the J plus Nya, that's the Jnya. So, therefore, sometimes when there is a bit of a debate whether it should be the Gnya or Nya or what, my logic is that it is a combination of J and Nya, and therefore Jnya, you go over the J really fast, Jnya would be the more accurate pronunciation of this letter. And that's the logic that I tend to follow when I'm asked about it. So, we have Ksha, Tra, Jnya, combined consonants already appearing in our main alphabet. Tari ksha, tra, jnya, atra vartante yatah samyuktaksharam samyuktaksharani santi kintu tesham rupa bahu bhinnam asti ataha. And then we looked at the combination of consonant with a vowel. So we had k plus a is a k, k plus a, ka, ki, ki, ku, ku, kr, kr, klr, klr, ke, kai, ko, kau, kam, kaha. Astu. So you're seeing how a part, sometimes you can recognize a part of the original letter in the symbol itself. Okay. Next we have the combination of consonants with consonants, which is the focus of today's class. Tari adya vayam vyanjana madhye samyuktaksharam drakshyama. So what I would like you to do is that if you have the alphabet sheet with you, it would be good to keep it beside you, so that as I refer to certain things, you can start identifying those letters on your sheet itself. So what we see here is that in the set of letters that are already there in the alphabet, there are different ways in which the letters connect to the Shirorekha. So you have certain letters which have a single touch, like you see in the first row there. In the second row that you can see there, each of the letters has a double point of touch on the top. And then some of them are quite different here because there is no connection between the letters themselves, as you can see here. And then you have some letters which have a first part and a second part to them, like the k and the p. So we are going to see how these letters come together, and what I normally say is they are a bit like the human relationship with their neighbors. So when you live along with your neighbors, there are different ways in which you can coexist. So sometimes you have to drop something in order to accommodate the other. Sometimes you have to squeeze yourself, you have to make certain compromises and allow the other to exist. So there are different ways in which they combine, and that is what we will study next. So here we see that ch, nya are all palatal sounds, then the talavya sounds, then the ta, na are dental. So the b is a labial, the v is a semi-vowel, the tra and nya are already combined consonants. Now let's see what happens. So letters where there is a single touch, what they tend to do is they tend to drop the stick that is attaching that letter and connect to the letter beside it. So I'll give you the example of the letter th. We have the th, let's take a combination of th plus y. So we have th plus the letter, so we have, I'll draw it out for you. So the th plus the y we will combine here. So th plus y, so that's a th plus the y. So when you see the th doesn't have the sound because it's only the half of the consonant, it's just the net consonant. And then, so th plus y, I told you the rule was that the th will drop its stick and attach itself to the next letter. So it becomes tia. Alright. And if you have to write it out in transliteration, it would look like that, tia. And I'll give you a word, for example, you have Satya, a very, very important word that is truth itself. And so you see how it combines there. So Satya, right. Now moving on, the letter th is one of those strange ones which does a different thing a little bit when it combines with itself. So that's why I have kept it apart. So when a th combines with another th, then it becomes like a double decker a little bit. Th, like that. Okay, so th plus th is a double th. And for example, you have the word, one of my favorites, which is uttamam. So uttamam meaning excellent, or in Italian you also have the ottimo. You see that the sounds are a bit similar there. So you have uttamam. There we go. Okay, now let's move on and see what happens to the other letters. So, we have seen that letters that have a single touch drop the stick, attach themselves to the other letter. But just before we continue, I'd like to just point out another one. You have two ways that they combine. So, one is they attach themselves besides, but there are some letters that also become like a double decker a little bit. So, if you have, let's say, the word ch, the sound ch, the letter ch, and then it combines with itself again, or it can combine even with the j or other letters, mainly in this group. What happens is that it sort of becomes a, so ch plus ch becomes a double decker. See that? It sort of sits one on top of the other. And I'll give you an example of a word. Another very important three words that are combined is the word Satchidananda. Satchidananda. So we see that it has become Sachi. So Satchidananda. Okay, so the word has stretched out, but I will erase it again and just write it out below it, so it's easier for you to follow more strictly. Satchidananda. But there's just one more way that the chichi could be there. So you could also have it as ch plus ch on the side. Okay, just to give you the different options that are available. So Satchidanandaha as an adjective will take on the different endings of the different genders that you are following. Okay. Now moving on to the next group of letters, the k, k and g are they are gutturals. Then you have j, which is a palatal, and then you have th and the, which are the dental ones. P, bh, m, all three of them are labials, and then we have the three sibilants or ushmana and ksha combined consonant there, and ya a semi vowel. So here what we find is that there are 2 points of touch, and therefore what happens is that the second stick drops and it connects to the next letter. So let's take an example of amba. It's a word that we are very familiar with and we keep looking at in the feminine with a ending with a. So we have ba, na mba. So we have plus b. Now what happens is, I said the second stick drops and connects to the next, so it becomes mba. And then in the word amba, you also add the a that is there, so it becomes amba. Okay. Amba. Is that fine? All right. Now what I'd like us to do here, so this is generally what would happen, or I'll give you another word like asti is another one that we are familiar with. So s plus th becomes, drop the stick, join to the other ones, th. So s plus th becomes th, and then you combine it with a vowel and you have the word asti. So you have to cater for that stick in advance. I'll just write that for you again. So so you have to cater for the E beforehand and then put it, and the reason I have shown you this letter combination is because now the question is, on which head would you add the E? You see the E has this hook that comes on to the head of the letter. Now where will you put it? Will you put it on top here, or will you put it in on the second letter? So what the rule is that you have to use the second letter. Now this entire thing becomes one combination, and the main body of it would be the second head that is touching. Okay, so asti asti. Similarly, you would have had astu. So, I will just write this stu here. So, if you had astu, you would do this like that. So, the u beside it. So, stu beside it like that. Okay, that is just to give you a variation of that. Huh? So, asti, you see that it adds to the second one. Stu, it will come before it. Huh? So, asti and astu. Now, another letter that you need to know is the letter sh, because it does a bit of a different thing. So, because there are two ways of writing it. When you combine it with another vowel, or sorry, when you combine it with another consonant, you can do it in two ways. So, I will take the word Schwa. So, Schwa is a combination of sh plus vaha, okay, which already has the visarga included in it here. So, that can either become Schwaha, and sometimes, like I tend to write it with a small stick like that. You will see that variation as well. So, Schwaha, or if you have the other variant of sh, which is like that, plus vaha, so the vaha, that will become, it will share the stick of the sh or the v. So, the stick drops and it becomes a bit of a double decker, Schwaha, and that is sh plus vaha Alright, so I hope that is clear now. Now, moving on, we have another two letters which are the g and the n, and you see a bit like the sh, they have two independent access points and they are not connected in any way. So, what happens very typically is that the stick will drop and one part of it will remain. The n of course has 3 points of touch, but the hive, the u remains like one set, okay, that never breaks. So, I will do a combination of in a word called ghanta. So, you have n, which is just the n plus the t, the t. So, this is, it will become the nt, okay, nt, and then you have the word, there which is ghanta, and then you have gha, n, t, a. You can literally break up the sounds one at a time and represent them symbolically through the letters. Okay, so ghanta, the t, I will just write that a little better for you. Okay, so that is the ghanta. Alright, now the next kind of letter that we have is the k, and so the k, as you can see, has one head, but it has a part before and it has a part afterwards. So, what happens in that case? So, the second part gets cut, the tail sort of gets cut and attaches itself to the next letter, or they do a double decker sometimes. So, if you have the word k plus v, so k plus v becomes qu in this case, and so you have a word, for example, qu, you have a word pakwam. Pakwa is an adjective meaning ripe. So, you see how they come beside each other. So, pakwa, or like I said, the k, when it combines with itself, it becomes a double decker. It becomes like that. Kukkuta, for example. So, k plus k becomes kk, and you have the word kukkuta, meaning the cock, kukkut, kukuta. So as you can see, so kukuta, I've just written it in the root form here. So what you can see, one way that what I was doing is, I put the letter, I put the head on it, I put the next two letters, I put the head on it, the shirorekha, and then I put the ta and the shirorekha. So generally when you're starting, it is easy to write the whole word and then put one line right across. As you get more practice, you can do this kind of a joint handwriting, but don't worry about it now. What we see next is the letter P. The letter P doesn't really have any combinations, not that I have come across, but if you do encounter it, then all you need to do is cut half the tail and attach it to the next letter. But the other important one that we need to still look at is the L. So what happens to the L is that you have the L plus L becomes the double L like that. You can either make it a double L as a it can become a double decker like that, or the other one that you can see, the other combination that you can see is the L with anything else. So that becomes the L. So the other one that I'd show you is, if you do a L with a P, it will become Lp. So we have the word Alp, meaning less. So we have L plus P, Lp. Okay, it's getting a bit squashy there. So the English of it would be Alpa. Okay, so is that clear? It's a little bit, it's a very full table there, but I think if you have just followed along the different steps I have shown you, you will be able to understand what I was saying. So just moving on now, so we have seen how single touch, double touch and the different front back letters behave with each other. The next ones that I'd like to show you are the letters which have a rounded bottom. So the rounded bottom letters are interesting because what they do is that they accept the other letters below them. So we have the ng, which is a guttural, ch, palatal, and then we have the t, d, dh. You see the half tomato series, all of them come in there. Those are the cerebrals or the murdhanya sounds. So what happens is that you put it below. So if you have the sound ng, so ng, half of that, so that's the transliteration for ng plus g. So it becomes ng, g. So it will become, it will take the letter below it, ng. So we have the famous river that you know, which is Ganga. So g, g, and then the a comes beside it as a whole, Ganga. Right? Now there's just another letter I'd like to indicate here is the ch. So the ch does it a bit differently. So if you have a combination of ch plus ch, like you have in the word ch, you have the word gachati. So in this particular letter, you would just put the ch alongside the ch. Though this letter is more about the ch, but I'm just trying to show how it the two of them combine. So you have the ch plus ch, this becomes ch, like that. Okay, so you have the word ch, ch. It's an extra C there, yeah. So ch plus ch, so ch like that, and you have the word gachati, gachati, something that you're very familiar with, and we are going to encounter it quite often, so you can pay attention to the way it is written. So with the it's interesting because the tail of it acts like the stick of the letters. So we have the word, the famous word that you have is buddha. Okay, so you have the combination of a the plus the dha. So what happens there is you have, so the d plus dha. So although this is the half letter, but this starts behaving like the full one and the dha comes under it, and that's what the dha tends to do. So it becomes the d plus the dha comes under it and uses the tail as if it is its stick. Okay, so you have the word, so this is dha, in buddha becomes bu dha. See that? Buddha. Alright, now the dha also does another funny thing with the ya, it completely changes form a little bit. So if you have the letter d plus ya, what happens is a very new combination a little bit, it becomes a dya, like that. Like for example the word for knowledge, which is Vidya. So what happens here is you have V and then the dya and Vidya. Alright, so this is it. And in another combination you have the letter d with itself. It becomes a double decker, but a little different one. It sort of uses the stick of its other one to do that, but then this also transfers itself into something like that. Alright, so you will encounter these different ways of writing them. Now, the next one is the r, and the r does different things when it comes before as a half letter and after another consonant. So, in the case of the r, when it comes before, so if you have it r plus k, so r plus k, it becomes a half c on the head. So, that is your k and it becomes a half c. So, the r sort of becomes half c on the head like that. So, it becomes like that, and you have a word arka, which means the sun, which is written like that. In the other case, when the r comes afterwards but combining with a consonant, so if you have the word p plus r, so the r is full but the p is half, so p plus r, this the r that follows it becomes like a line across. So, it becomes this way, you always have this line that is there. So, this becomes pr, and we have the word prataha, for example, prataha meaning morning, suprabhatam, remember the word suprabhatam, so prataha, uttamam. Now, one of the last letters that we have here is the letter h, and h is a very motherly letter. So, it tends to take everything into its belly. So, if you have, for example, the combination of h plus r, so as we have just seen here, h plus r, so this, the r became that line across which comes inside the belly, and that becomes hr. So, you have a word like rasaha meaning less. So, that is a line there. I will just do that for you a little clearly again. So, rasaha, which means less. So, this is r and this is rasaha. Okay, you have another letter now, which is another combination, which is like the h with a single letter, with a single touch point. In that case, it goes entirely into the belly like that, hl, and you have a word prahlada, prahlada. Okay, I will just write that one again for you in order to keep the letters equal, because you should normally try and keep the letters within the same range. So, pra, la, da. Prahladaha was the name of an important character in Hindus, in the Indian on Sanskrit literature. La becomes la, and you have Prahladaha. Okay, the last one that we will look at here with the ha is when you have a double touch point with the Shirorekha. What happens in that case? So, another very important word is the word Brahma. So, it is a combination of h plus the letter ma, which has a double touch with the Shirorekha. So, what happens in this case is one of them gets into the stomach and the other one sticks out and joins the top of the letter. So, you have her, it comes under, and the other one goes all the way to the top, hma. So, we have the word Brahma. You see, as you are saying it, you can literally write it out, which is again a very special feature. H plus ma gives you hma, and this is Brahma. Yeah. So, I think with this we have more or less covered the different possibilities of consonants combining with consonants, and so what we will do now is that the special tips revolve around the different groups of letters, the different consonants, mainly the sibilants and the nasal sounds. So, how do we know which of the sibilants are used with their combined consonant, with the consonant that is coming with them? So, you have the three sibilants, which are sh, the palatal sh, Talavya sh, the sh, so the sh, and the s, the dental one. And then I want to combine it with the t, for example. How do I know which of these will come together with the t? So, the rule is very simple. You have to look at the phonetic group of the following letter, which is the t in this case, and then you have to take the sibilant corresponding to that group. So, in this case, this is a cerebral or a murdhanya sound, and therefore, you take that which is from that same group, and this is also a cerebral. So, the options we have were whether you will do whether you will take, so will it be the sh, will it be the sh, or will it be the s? Which of these three will combine with the t? And so, like I said, you have to see the same group. So, this is not there, this is not there, because that is the cerebral, that is what will come along, shta. Okay, and you have the word ashta. Similarly, we have the option for, let us say, if you have the sh, the sh and the s, and you want to combine it with the t. So, that was a t there, and this is a t here. Which one of them will come? The rule is simple. You look at it. This is a palatal, this is a cerebral, this is a dental, this letter is dental, and is a dental, and therefore, neither this nor that, and that is the only one. So, you will get it like that, st. Okay. And therefore, you have the word asti. You see s, t and e combining there. So, that is the st and that is the asti over there. Okay. Now, the other question that we have is for the nasal sounds. Which one combines with the following consonant? So, we have 5 groups of nasals. So, we have the ng, I will without that. So, we have the ng, the n, Before that we have, so we have, I'll do it again. So we have the ng, the nya, so that's the guttural, that's the palatal, that's the cerebral, that's the dental, and that's the labial. Okay, so we have them there, and I want to combine it with the, let us say, the g, and here I will make them into short. Now, which one do I know will combine with the g? So, which group does the g belong to? The g is guttural. Therefore, automatically this combination becomes the natural one. So, you have Ganga. See? Now, supposing I have the other one that I used earlier was the t. Okay, I want to combine it with the t. Now, which one is the t? The t is the cerebral, and therefore, which is the cerebral? It is this one. So, these two will combine together, and then you have Ghanta. Is that clear now? So, this is a very important understanding, especially when you are trying to write out the language. Astu. So, I think with this what we will do next is we will do some practice for these, and what I thought I will make it interesting for you. So, we thought of doing this practice using certain nyayaha. So, the nyaya means the maxims of life, and there are some that you will recognize maybe from the English language, and there will be some that will be new. तर्हि इदानीम् अहं किञ्चित् संस्कृते सम्भाषणम् अपि करिष्यामि. तत्र इदानीं संयुक्ताक्षराणां प्रयोगः भिन्नन्यायेषु द्रक्ष्यामः. तत्र प्रथमम् अस्ति अन्ध-पंगु-न्यायः. So the first one is andha-pangu-nyaya. Andha blind, pangu lame. Nyaya is how these two combine together. So it's the maxim of the blind man and the lame that you already know. So in the andha-pangu-nyaya, the blind man does the walking, putting the lame man on the shoulder. The lame man does the seeing. So together they make a good pair that is able to live life naturally. Dvayoho militva andhaha drashtum na shaknoti, panguhu chalitum na shaknoti, ataha andhaha chalati, panguhu tasya skandhe upavishya, militva ekasartham jivanam kurvanti. Tari, it shows the importance of living, doing things in harmony with each other, combining each other's strength and weakness. So you can see andha, pangu. But here I just wanted to point out, in the pangu here, you have this combination given. But that's also a choice of the script. But you could also write it like that. Pangu. Andha pangu nyayaha. The next one is the is this one. I'll take this one, which is nashtashva dagdha ratha nyayaha. So nashta means lost, ashwa is the horse, dagdha is lost, it's burnt, ratha chariot, nyaya is the maxim. So what is this saying? It's the maxim of the destroyed carriage and horse. In fact, the other way around, the destroyed horse and the carriage. So the story goes that there are two people, both of them going in two carriages. One suddenly loses the horse and the other one's carriage gets burnt down. So they combine the two and then they use one carriage, the good carriage, with the good horse that is there. Again, maxim to talk about the importance of working together. Atrapi militva sahakaryasya eka udaharanam asti yatra janadvayam rathadvaye gacchataha ekasya ashwaha nashtaha anyasya rathaha dagdhaha janadvayam kim karoti ekasya ratham nayati anyasya ashwam nayati militva agre gachanti. Okay, so that is the advantage there. The next one is the andha parampara nyayaha, something that you are familiar with. Andha blind, parampara tradition, nyayaha, the maxim of the blind following the blind. in this case we see that the blind person, this is the law of the blind. So the blind following the blind is something that you're familiar with already. So andha parampara nyaye andha andhasya eva anusaram karoti ataha. So this is you're familiar with. Then this is an interesting one. So kukkuta dhwani nyayah. Kukkuta is the cock, dhwani is sound, nyayah maxim. So it's a maxim of the crowing of the cock, which says that the cock doesn't start crowing loudly in the first go. It first does it slowly, then a little more, then a little louder, and then a little louder. So similarly, good things and work also starts slowly but then picks up momentum. Tari kukkutasya dhvanihi arambe uchchahi na bhavati mandam bhavati agre gatva mandam mandam uchchahi bhavati ataha karyamapi tatha mandam mandam arambhya agre tat adhikam bhavati. The next one, which is bahuchhidra ghata nyaya. So I want you to notice the combinations there, chi and then dra. So the ra which has come below the da. So bahuchhidra ghata nyaya. In this one you have the bahu a lot, chhidra holes, ghata pot, nyaya the law. So it's saying that if you try and put some water into a pot that has many holes, it is useless. So not to waste one's efforts where the recipient is not or is very holy, let's say, holy with the sense of the holes. So it's atra vartate yat ghate yatra bahu chhidram asti tatra jalam sthapayitva athava jala sthapana karyam vyartham asti yataha जीवने यथा जीवने अपि यत्र पात्रं छिद्रपूर्णं भवति तत्र अधिकप्रयत्नस्य फलं वृथा भवति. The next one, matsya kantaka nyaya. Matsya. So you see there are three letters, consonants combining there. Kantaka nyaya, matsya fish, kantaka the bone, and nyayah is the law. So maximum of the fish and its bone. So when eating the fish, although the bone plays an important role, it is not consumed. So you just take the essence and you leave the rest, like we need to do in life. Tathaiv yatha matsyam yada bhakshyate tada kantakah yadyapi mukhya bhaga asti tasya bhakshanam na bhavati. Atha kevalam yasya sarabhutam asti tasya eva swikarah athava grahanam avashyakam bhavati. जीवनपि तथैव मुख्यस्य स्वीकरणम् आवश्यकं यद् अनावश्यकं तस्य त्यागः योग्यः अस्ति. अस्तु. So I hope you will use this to mainly focus on how the letters are combining. And then to wrap the session up, a shloka that I will do is the Varna Chitra. This particular Varna Chitra is special because it has put all the alphabet, the entire Varna Mala in its natural sequence using different vowels. So let's try doing that. Kah khagau ghang chichauja jhanjo tauthi dadandhanaha tathodadhin paparbabhir mayorilvashishansaha. And the meaning? Who is he, the lover of birds, pure in intelligence, expert in stealing the strength of others, leader among the destroyers of the enemies, the steadfast, the fearless, the one who filled the ocean. He is the King Maya, the repository of the blessings that can destroy the foes. Interesting, isn't it, to be able to try and think of doing this in the English language where you will put the alphabet in that order and make a composition. It's impossible. So these are some special features that the Sanskrit language and all the Indian languages, since they're derived from Sanskrit, have similar possibilities. This is some references. So this verse is there from the Wonder, that is Sanskrit, and the Nyayavali is the site from which I had picked up the different Nyayas. So to close, another quote by Dr. Manmohan Singh, where he says, Sanskrit has not only some of the greatest classics of world literature, but has also a treasure of knowledge in mathematics, medicine, botany, chemistry, arts and humanities. If we provide the missing links and establish the required interdisciplinary approaches, the wisdom of Sanskrit has the potential of enriching the present day knowledge systems and Indian languages immensely. So this was a tip he gave, and I think it is something that we could really benefit by if we applied it in our understanding of the different subjects and study of different subjects. So with this I will say Dhanyavadaha, and now you can also notice the combination of the letters of Dhanyavadaha. Please do practice, because it's only practice that will make it perfect. Dhanyavadaha.